Good morning. Remember that habit? I would say good morning, and then you all would say good morning back to me. And we've been losing that for a long time. We have been able to gather, so it really is a beautiful thing that we're being able to regather as a community. A lot of times people ask me, well, what is Unitarian Universalism? And this is not an all-encompassing explanation, but basically I say we're in the construction business. This is a construction company. This is who we are. We're in the construction business. We want to make sure that we do good, solid construction, that we're proud of the construction that we do. So if people ask you, just tell them, this place is a construction company. The relationship construction company. Because the pandemic has done a wrecking ball in our communities, and so many people are isolated and alone, and there are so many relationships that need to be rebuilt and reconnected. It's a terrible thing when people don't have community. And that's why we're here, to help build community, that we get to know one another. So welcome, welcome. Please stick around for the fellowship hour. It's an equally important part of our time where we really get to know one another and construct relationships. Good morning and welcome.
Our gathering hymn this morning is Come Ye Thankful People. It's number 68 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit, and please leave your mask in place as we sing. Come ye thankful people, come, raise a song of harvest home. Fruit and crops are gathered in, safe before the storms begin. God our Maker will provide
lovely rendition to a lovely song. Very, very nice. I bring you the following from Monica Jacobson Tennyson, who not long ago served as an intern in this congregation. We come today to gather together as Unitarian Universalists. We come today to join in the spirit of love and the service of life. We come today to be a part of the stream of this living tradition. In our gathering, may we be blessed. Please join us in saying our affirmation. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration, build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world. We light these chalices to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves, and to be welcoming to whomever we meet and kind to all living creatures. So gather round this light of hope as we share this time together. Each week we light 3 chalices. The first is for this congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem, Oregon. The second chalice we light for our friends in our partner church in Šiman-Falva, Transylvania, Romania. And we light our third chalice for our children and youth in our religious exploration program, and for all the children of the world. Please join us as we sing the flame into light.
Hey, Molly, come on up and do a Time for All Ages. We're so glad that Molly Brown is our Director of Religious Education, and she's launching herself. We didn't know she was going to be ready this morning. She's going to do something up here for us. So you have a microphone there, and do you have all your props? Okay, good. Great, Molly.
All right, can everybody young and young at heart come join me up front, please? All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to read a story here for you today. Welcome, everybody. It's about Chalika and the chalice. So I'm learning right along with everybody, so this is going to be fun. Okay. Each Sunday, Unitarian Universalists and congregations everywhere light a chalice, like you just saw. Lighting the chalice shows that the worship service is starting. It reminds us that this time together is special. Some families light a chalice before eating dinner. Sometimes we light a chalice when we are traveling far from home, which gives us a sense of comfort in a strange place. The chalice helps us remember that near or far, Unitarian Universalists are all connected in spirit. Chalices come in many shapes and sizes. Some are large, others are small, some are plain, others are fancy. No matter what shape, size, or color they may be, one thing makes all Unitarian Universalist chalices the same. They all hold a flame. The chalice with a flame, the flaming chalice, is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. You can find pictures of flaming chalices on banners and signs, on jewelry, clothing, and even on pencils and bumper stickers. Take a look around a Unitarian Universalist church or event. Do you see any of the symbols? Miss Ashley has one on her shirt. A chalice is a special cup. A cup may hold water to refresh someone who is thirsty. A cup may hold soup to nourish someone who is hungry. A cup can help sustain life. Chalices have been used in religious ceremonies around the world for centuries. They can also be symbols for achievement or celebration. Your award for winning a spelling bee may look like a cup. Your family may have a set of glasses that you use only for special occasions. Fire is mysterious. We can feel its heat, but we can't actually touch it or hold it. Fire makes things change. It can melt metal or turn a mound of sticky dough into a hot loaf of bread. Fire provides warmth and light. It takes only a small flame to brighten the darkness, just a small fire to warm a cold night. Unitarian Universalists put the chalice and the flame together to make the symbol of the flaming chalice. Some people say that the flaming chalice reminds them of joy and celebration, like the candles on a birthday cake. For some, the flaming chalice means hope. It reminds us how much good we can do when we work together. Everyone is special. Everyone has a special light inside. When we let our light shine and share it with others, we make the world a better place. Each of us is like a flaming chalice. I wanted to ask the congregation what the flaming chalice means to you. If anybody would like to answer for the youngins that are here. And, oh, they want to answer.
It means that people just need a home even if they don't have.
Wonderful.
It means to have life.
Wonderful.
It means you have to have a mask.
A mask.
Nowadays, it means to have a mask, to stay
It means
safe
to have a mask.
and be able to be with one another. Absolutely.
Yes. So we can be together.
The chalice unites all of us around the world.
Thank you. Anybody else?
The chalice holds a flame of life, and chalices are meant to be drunk from. So we drink our flame of life from the chalice.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Oh.
Each one of us is a flame, and we are the light in the world. To me, that's what that chalice represents. Each one of us.
Beautiful.
The chalice brought my family together at the table every night. So we would light the candle, and it would kind of unify us in sharing as opposed to just going through the motions. But they're teenagers now, so I hide all the lighters.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Now, when Unitarian Universalists light the chalice, they often say some special words called chalice lightings. Here are some chalice lightings that you might like to use. You can also make up a chalice lighting of your own. We light this chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. This is a church of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. Or flaming chalice, burning bright, kindly share with us your light. Help us learn how we may care for all people everywhere. Okay, now if the center aisle can stand and make a love arch for the RE program to make their way, that would be great. And thank you, everyone.
Wherever you walk, walk
Isn't it nice to see a long line of children parading out of this place? That's a beautiful sight, I would say. I invite you now to just calm yourself by following your breath. Whenever you're stressed, nervous, afraid, you can just focus your mind on your breathing. Just let it go, whatever else is on your mind, and focus on the breathing. And you'll become more calm and more aware. And being more aware, we become more compassionate. Today we're mindful of the sorrow and the loss of members of our community. We look at the beautiful flowers around us and remember those flowers were for Molesky, John Thomas Molesky's memorial service yesterday. Then too, we think of Carol Manka, beloved member of this congregation, who died yesterday. We think of all those in our congregation who are suffering in one way or another, from loss, or sorrow, pain. And as we build our community here, let us be mindful to strive for the well-being of one another. Caring for one another is our common call, and it is a joyful one. And this is the season of gratitude, the season when our thoughts turn to thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. A great mystic said that if the only prayer you ever say in this entire life is thanks, if the only prayer you ever say is thanks, it will be enough. It will be enough. And so I say thanks, for everywhere you look, there are great gifts, blessings to behold. Let us behold all that is in our lives. Let us behold all that is, all the blessings that come to us. Be aware of them, and you will be moved to say thanks. Compassion and gratitude. That is our path, day by day. And now we learn how members of our community are doing from our lifelines.
Hi, I'm Lorna Youngs with Lifelines Lay Ministry, and if we could have that slide, please. I just wanted to reiterate that the lay ministry is here to provide support and care for any member of our community who is in need. So you can contact us by email, Lifelines Lay Ministry, or call the office. We are no longer using the warm line. I have one sorrow, actually, and 3 joys to give you today. The sorrow was already spoken of by Reverend Rick. Carol Manka died yesterday after years of battling a number of health issues. A lovely and courageous spirit, she will be greatly missed. Please send your support to her husband, Paul. And now our joys.
This one was entered by Jackie O'Malley on November 20th. It's a joy to be living back here in Salem after equally joyous 3 years in Vashon, Washington, as a newlywed but aged wife. Bernie, obviously your husband, is not a churchgoer and teases me about asking if I will pray for him, knowing how I'm an agnostic. No need. He is pretty perfect as he is. My problem is how do I engage with people back into the community, with everyone keeping at arm's length and wearing masks? I have a few friends, but it's hard to get to know everyone with conversations limited. And also, they've just recently had to put down their German Shepherd. And I know a number of others have had that same issue. There's another joy entered by Marie Brown. She was in a car accident earlier this month. One of the front tires of someone's Chevrolet Tahoe blew out and the SUV spun into my car. But the other person involved and I both had just minor injuries. I'm very happy not to have been injured worse. My beautiful 2010 Prius with only 77K miles was totaled, unfortunately, but I was able to buy another car and continue working. So my joy is that the outcome of this car accident for me was only more appointments with my chiropractor. And the last joy is by Liz Asher. A recent skin check by my dermatologist revealed a melanoma on my face, catching it very early. Now I have a scar, but would much rather have that than not be here at all. Please make time to get your yearly skin checks, everyone. If I could have the slide for the joys and concerns. Please continue to share your joys, concerns online. Just go to our website and enter in there. But also, since Lifelines is now back in the pulpit, we'll also be monitoring the book in the front. So if those of you want to write your joy or concern as you come into church, we will be reading those as well. Thank you very much.
Our pastoral hymn today is Calm Soul of All Things. It's number 88 in the gray hymnal. You can remain seated. Please leave your mask in place. Calm soul of all things, make it mine to feel amid the city's jar that there abides a peace of thine I did not make and cannot mar. The will to neither strive nor cry, the power to fill with others give. Come, come me more, nor let me die before I have begun to live.
I bring you this message from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day of the year. One is rich who owns the day, and no one owns the day who allows it to be invaded with fret and anxiety. Finish every day and be done with it. You have done what you could. The blunders and absurdities, no doubt, crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely, with too high a spirit to be cumbered with your old nonsense. This new day is too dear, with its hopes and invitations, to waste on a moment of yesterdays.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Lorna, too, and Ralph Waldo Emerson. He had some great thoughts to share. So do you guys remember the 7 dwarfs from the Snow White story? How many of them can you remember? Don't just think of it. I probably can't come up with all 7 of them, but I can remember the one to whom I personally relate and identify, and that one's Dopey. Dopey. You should study up on him. There's more to him than meets the eye. He likes people to be happy. He's not just dopey. He's a good one. He's a good one. But I think everybody, no matter which of the 7 dwarfs you might associate with, or maybe you don't associate with them, but I bet we always remember Grumpy. We always remember Grumpy because he has a certain dour, formidable, almost inevitable presence. And that was me the other day, too. Grumpy, not my usual dopey. In fact, I was in a grumpy mood, and I had been for a while. What was going on? Lots of stuff. I don't have time to get it. You don't want to hear it. But if I put my mind to it, I can come up with all sorts of good reasons to feel grumpy, and that's what I had done. And in saying this, I'm not confessing to you some moral lapse. At least that's not my intention. Sometimes you have to get a little bit grumpy to find the gumption for the road ahead, because the world can be a rough and tumble place, which is to say that maybe sometimes you need a little bit of grumpy to get traction. You know, grumpy doesn't get a lot of good press. People tend to associate being grumpy and old. They say grumpy and old, those go together. The implicit assumption seems to be that it takes a number of years to build up enough irritation so that grumpy can get a good head of steam. There was even an old movie, not that old, I guess, called Grumpy Old Men, that reinforced this perception that grumpiness is the exclusive purview of those who are older. Well, guess what? That's completely wrong. Older people generally are happier and less likely to be grumpier than other people. By the way, has anybody ever seen a grumpy baby? So grumpiness is inherent. You don't associate it with old age. It makes older people like me grumpy when you do that. Besides which, if you're grumpy sometimes, you're actually in pretty good company. You are. Take Jesus, for example. He didn't hold back on showing his grumpy side on more than one occasion. To be sure, some of the most shockingly intense, harsh statements, as recorded in the Scripture, they did not really come from the lips of Jesus. They came from the later Christian community that was trying to enforce or reinforce their theology in a particularly stressful time. So you have to keep that in mind when you say Jesus said this. You want to check with the scholars first and say, did Jesus really say that? But he did say, Jesus said some grumpy things. He did. You just can't get away from it. And, Bible scholars that they say, yeah, we're pretty sure Jesus said this. Looks pretty grumpy, but he said it. Especially Jesus got grumpy when he saw the people he loved being treated like dirt by the powerful and the wealthy. That made him grumpy. In this, he obviously took his cue from the older Hebrew prophets whose grit and grumpiness is legendary. The classical Hebrew prophets, Amos, Hosea, Isaiah, Micah, Jeremiah, they were grumpy. They were. Read those books. You'll see a lot of grumpiness there. And they were grumpy because they had seen the shocking cruelty and the corruption and the callous indifference to the well-being of the weak by the wealthy and the powerful. In other words, they were angry, the prophets and Jesus. They were angry and they were grumpy for the same basic reason that many people are grumpy today, for good reasons, for good reasons. When you live in a place where there's enough for everybody and you see homeless people on the street, I think you should get grumpy about that. Complain to the government and say we need to do something. So, all right, maybe grumpiness isn't so bad after all. In fact, I recently read that being pessimistic and grumpy and irritable can be good for your career and life in general. And this article that I was reading that said this, they took aim at the enforced positivity in our culture and contended that it's the grouses and the grumps who know how to get the raises and the other good stuff. There's something to that, I think. Plus which, if you're forced to act like you're feeling good when you're feeling grumpy, that's not good for your mental health. That approach never works. So I don't think that being grumpy is something to be ashamed of. It's human. Even the minister should be allowed to get grumpy should justifiable cause for grumpiness arise. Sounds like that should be in the Constitution, doesn't it? You shall have the freedom to be grumpy should justifiable cause for grumpiness arise. And I'll respect your right to be grumpy too. I support grumpy rights. We can still love one another and be grumpy with one another. I'm hoping you'll consider joining me for the Grumpy Rights Rally on December the 40th down at the Capitol Mall. So I was grumpy the other day, and I felt okay about it. Or maybe I didn't. Because deep down in our souls, sometimes if you look, you can tell that maybe it's not right. And then somehow, I don't know what precipitated it, but it was like a shaft of light from a higher realm of thought and feeling broke through the clouds of grouchy gloom. And it made me aware that there might be something that's not so okay with my grumpiness. In fact, I had taken a dangerous turn. Not one I had intended to take, but I noticed that I was falling into the habit of looking for things to feel grumpy about. And there's no lack of material to work with. Don't get me started. And this, I also realized, was connected to a creeping sense of entitlement that convinced me that I was right to be grumpy when everything doesn't go my way. If the universe doesn't meet my needs, well, I certainly have the right to be grumpy about that, don't I? Well, follow this path far enough, and pretty soon you'll realize, if you're fortunate enough to be conscious of the fact, oh my God, I'm in the grumpy zone. The grumpy zone, the zone of perpetual grumpiness. In the grumpy zone, all you can really see about life are those irritating examples of things to feel grumpy about. Pity the poor pilgrim who gets lost and stuck in the grumpy zone and just wanders there and goes no place else. And so finally, realizing that I had landed in the grumpy zone, oh my God, I also saw how the longer you are there, the more it misshapes your perceptions of life. You're just looking for things to feel bad about. And so it had for me down in the dank, grumpy zone. The walls are slippery and slimy. You can't get out by yourself, and that makes you even grumpier. Sometimes you just need a good inspiration. And that's one of the great benefits of serving as your minister. I have gotten to meet some absolutely amazing people, the memory of whose example lifts me up. People like Michael and Laurie. Some of you will remember them too. There was UUCS member Michael Eichmann and Laurie Spate. Laurie Spate was the daughter of Barbara Hanneman. You'll notice we have the Barbara Hanneman Fellowship Hall. Laurie was a wonderful woman. And both of these two bright souls, they were such good people. They were stricken by a dreadful malady in middle-aged, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. And it it broke my heart to even watch it. And it was just so hard to see their mobility slowly taken away. It was so hard to witness this kind of physical decline. But it was even more amazing to witness their spiritual ascent. Every time I would visit or meet with either of them, I braced myself. I braced myself for sad stories of loss. Naturally, I expected that they would be utterly dejected as they experienced the loss of their mobility, their body. Every day, something a little less. If anybody had the right to be grumpy, I'd say it was them, not me. And I know that living with ALS, it was hard. It wasn't easy for both of them. But when I visited them and when I talked with their partners, they confirmed that what I encountered was right. Here were two good souls whose hearts were primarily inclined to gratefulness. Gratefulness, a little bit different than gratitude. Gratitude and gratefulness are pretty closely aligned, but gratitude is not exactly the same thing. Gratitude is a momentary emotion in response to a particular gift that might come your way. Give me that bell. Oh, wow, I love it. Thank you. It's a nice gift. I'm grateful. And I put it away, and the gratitude's gone. But gratefulness, that's a different way of living in the world. It's not contingent on something happening to us, says cancer survivor Christy Nelson. She says, gratefulness is rather a way that we arrive at life, a grateful attitude towards this life. And that's the way Michael and Laurie saw life. They were focusing on the deepest gifts of life that the disease couldn't take away. Appreciation for the love that we share with one another. That was a remarkable thing to see, to go and discover that with them, that they were grateful for that gift up until the very end. One fall afternoon, just a few years ago, I sat with Michael on his back deck, and he called my attention to the chirping of the crickets. You know that sound. And how grateful he said he was to hear those crickets chirp, because they were chirping their final chirps before the winter set in and they would die. And I never knew that crickets died over the winter. I guess if I thought about it, I would have figured that out, but no, they die. They die. And so now when I hear the crickets chirping, it's more like they're saying, thanks be for the gift of life which we had, and now we chirp our farewell song to the world. And so there I am sitting on the deck with Michael, listening to those crickets chirp, and Michael and I knew that another generation of crickets would hatch from the springs these ones had laid. There would be more crickets. And he was at peace with that. And he was at peace with his own death, too. His embrace and practice of the practices and philosophy of Buddhism were a great source of wisdom and a comfort for him during this time. And that day, I had met with Michael. I had met with Michael to talk about his death. He and I knew that he would not live through that winter, and yet his heart was not heavy with grief. It was lifted up with gratefulness for this great gift of life. Oddly enough, people who have gone through the most adverse circumstances are the ones whose hearts are most inclined towards gratefulness. But maybe it's not so odd when you think about it. Those who have not faced adverse circumstances can easily fall prey to a creeping sense of entitlement, whereas someone who knows you can lose it all and it's all a gift, a blessing, they know gratefulness. And what a great thing it was to have such an example right before me so many times. To behold such pure gratefulness will pull you right out of the grumpy zone into the highest blissful realms known as the gratefulness zone. The gratefulness zone. You can't feel grumpy and grateful at the same time. And when you get up into the gratefulness zone, you experience joy in that place, and the grumpiness has no role to play, and it vanishes into nothing. And so I bathe in the spirit of gratefulness in different ways. I don't know how you do it. My favorite way, you know I had to get Beethoven in here at some way. My favorite way of putting my heart in a grateful place is to listen to the last movement of Beethoven's last piano sonata. This guy had such a rough life, such a hard life, and yet that music is infused with a spirit of gratitude. Gratitude. It's such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing. I hope you know such beauty in your life as well. Would you join me in a meditation? Let's reflect on our lives from a higher plane than we might usually. Let us look down at our daily doings and be aware of all that makes our life, all the blessings that flow to us, the loved ones and the friends, the material blessings, this beautiful world, this universe. Seeing the sacred in one another. For all of this, we are so profoundly grateful. Amen.
Our Share the Plate recipient this month is the Microfinance Project. We were fortunate to have as our speaker about 2 weeks ago Ron Hockley from the NEO Fund, along with members of the microfinance team, who explained that your past donations have provided small loans to families in Laos, Peru, Kenya, Nicaragua, and India. Your contributions have helped people out of poverty by helping them create small businesses and increasing their earning power. UUCS members also contribute generously to the Marion Pope Food Share. To contribute your offering, you may go to our website at uusalem.org. Or if you're here in person today, you may leave your offering in the basket in the foyer. And we thank you for your kind generosity.
Slowly on the ground. His work is almost over. It won't be long and he won't be around. I love my father. He could use some mercy now. Brother, could use some mercy now. He's a stranger to freedom. He's shackled to his fear and his doubts. The pain that he lives in is almost more than living will allow. church and my country could use a little mercy now, as they sink into a poison pit it's gonna take forever to climb out. They carry the weight of the faithful who follow them down. I love my church and my country. They could use some mercy now. Every living thing could use a little mercy now. Only the hand of grace can end the race toward another mushroom cloud. And people in power, well, they'll do anything to keep their crown. I love life, and life itself could use some mercy now. Yes, we all could use a little mercy now. I know we don't deserve it, but we need it anyhow. We hang in the balance between hell and hallowed ground. Every single one of us could use a little mercy now. Every single one of us could use a little mercy now. Every single one of us could use a little mercy now.
Each week, we light our social justice candle to remind us of the support, caring, and kindness we extend to the greater world as individuals and as a congregation. Let us be reminded of this ministry in all our comings and goings. As we extinguish these chalices this morning, let us remember these words again from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you, and to give thanks continuously. And because all things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude.
We sure had some beautiful music this morning. Really touched the heart. Thank you for that. I wanted to make a few announcements of some things coming up. We got a lot of important things happening. First of all, when you do come in, we would like it if you register ahead of time, just so we can help promote as much safety as possible during this difficult time. I am so happy. I used to be announcing up here that we'd be having a Zoom fellowship hour, and we have a real one now. So see you back there. Let's get some coffee together. We've been involved in a program since the very beginning of this. Well, she's catching them up. There we go. That's the one I want to talk about right now. The first thing that we voted on at a congregational meeting when we built this building is that we said we would be part of the Family Promise program. It was called the Salem Interfaith Hospitality Network at the time, meaning that homeless families would live here and rotate to other faith communities around the community. And we've been doing that ever since we built this building. And it's been an amazing thing. The amazing thing is that you have volunteered. It takes a lot of volunteers to make this happen. So please, Sarah, are you here this morning, Sarah Chateau? Are you looking for, stand up so people can see you. She'll help us find some volunteers. It's a lot of work to organize this program, Sarah, and if we don't have a coordinator, it falls apart. So thank you so much for doing that. And if you would like to sign up to help with the Family Promise, providing meals or help for people during the week, that's one of the ways that we light the Social Justice Lantern, by being part of that program. And the homeless guests are coming in December, so we need a lot of people to sign up, and you'll give me a head count next Sunday so we see how many people we still need to go. And our next slide is for our Christmas Eve service. If you would like to send in a prayer for the world, or if you would like to send in a recording of you lighting a candle and passing it right to left, we'll use that video in the Christmas Eve service. So you have a little while to get that in, so think about that. Next Sunday, I'll be speaking from the pulpit, Wells We Did Not Dig, and you'll come in, hopefully, after a nice Thanksgiving, and we can join together for that. So please do join us next week for that. And I believe the next slide has to do with another program that we're just about to start. Is this where we have the video for Joan Stembridge? Let's hear a video from Joan Stembridge. We tried it last week. This week we're going to get it right.
Thank you, Rick, for this opportunity to give this presentation to UUCS. The purpose of this video is to tell UUCS about an opportunity to participate in healing the lives of the people most affected by the Afghanistan war. Salem has become an Afghan resettlement site under the direction of Salem for Refugees, which is a nonprofit resettlement agency in our community. Within the next 4 months, Salem will be receiving 20 Afghanistan families that are newly arriving and will become our new neighbors. If you ever asked yourself over the last few months watching the horrific TV of Afghanistan's families, if you've ever asked yourself, is there anything I can do to help? The answer is yes, and I'm going to tell you what that is. We are forming good neighbor teams of 4 to 10 people that will be trained by Salem for Refugees and will then be assigned an individual Afghanistan family as a team. The commitment is for 1 year. The team, a member of the team, will visit on a weekly basis to this family, and the activities will be acculturation of the family into Salem life. Such things as walking alongside them when they get to public school, go to grocery shopping, obtain employment, just be friends and help them know about the culture in Salem as they're growing and becoming stable and established. I do want you to know that my husband and I have participated in Salem for Refugees and have been involved with 5 different families that were refugees. And I can tell you honestly, we are the most enriched in this activity. And I believe the same will happen for you. If you join a Good Neighbor team, you will get so much from this experience. So if you're interested, let me know through contacting the UUCS office, and I will get back in touch with you and connect you with the Salem for Refugees staff where you will be trained. It is my hope that UUCS will create a Good Neighbor team and be an active part in demonstrating that love is stronger than hate, and love is love, no exceptions. Thank you.
I'm so proud of our community for doing this, for really reaching out and finding a way to make these Afghan refugees feel at home. This is their home now, and this is a wonderful program. I just filled out my application. I hope you'll consider being part of this as well. So you see the information on how you can join, and also want to draw your attention to good things happening around here. The men's group was meeting this morning, and they meet every 2 weeks on Sundays, and great group of guys. You ought to join them. Big ticket items are needed for the auction on January 18th through the 23rd. We're having an online auction, so if you have a Steinway grand piano, a Rolls Royce, or any other like good stuff, this is really an important fundraiser for us this year. I hope you'll really, think about it. And maybe there's something that you don't need anymore that somebody else would like to have. So please consider that for the online auction. You'll be hearing about that, I'm sure, a number more times, just to stir it up, though. I think we've got all the announcements. So, good. Thank you.
Our closing hymn today is Thanks Be for These. It's number 322 in the gray hymnal. We'll be singing verses 1, 2, and 3. Please rise in body or spirit, and please leave your mask in place.
Thanks be for these life's holy times, moments of grief, days of delight, triumph and failure intertwine, shaping our vision of the right. Thanks be for these, for birth and death, life in between with meaning full. Holy becomes the quickened breath. We celebrate life's interval. Thanks be for these ennobling art, images welcome to our sight, music caressing ear and heart, inviting us to loftier height.
People only see what they are prepared to see. If you look for what is good and what you can be grateful for, you will find it everywhere. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Thank you for joining us today. Please join me now in saying our closing words. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come. Blessed be.